Welcome to Sexy in Your 60s. This is a space for women 50 and beyond who are choosing to live with vitality, intention, and joy in this chapter of life and the ones ahead of us. I'm your host, Dvora Citron, registered nurse, National Board Certified Health and Wellbeing Coach, and Plant Strong advocate. On this podcast, we explore what truly helps women thrive in midlife and beyond through evidence-based health insights, real stories, practical strategies, and the deeper sense of meaning that makes life feel rich and connected. I intentionally chose the title, Sexy in Your 60s. When I use the word sexy, I'm not talking about sexuality or how we're seen. I'm talking about energy, confidence, presence, curiosity, purpose. Sexy is how you feel in your body. Sexy is how you move through the world. Sexy is knowing who you are and choosing how you want to show up. I believe this stage of life isn't about winding down. It's about waking up. Not in your 60s? You're still invited to join us. Each episode is designed to support you not just in how you live, but in how you feel in your body, your relationships, and your life. I'm so glad you're here. Let's begin. Debbie, I'm so glad to have you here. Your life and work are such a powerful example of reinvention. From Wall Street to acting to building a business rooted in plant-based living, healing, and intention. You've moved through so many different chapters, and yet there is such a clear sense of purpose running through all of them. I'm so excited to explore that with you today. So Debbie, when you look back at all those chapters of your life, what thread connects the woman you were then to the woman you are now?
Oh my God, there is no thread. I really can't say that there's a thread because I'm a completely different person, because I realized around the age of 27, 28 that I had lived my life for my parents. Not their fault, my fault. I woke up, I guess, around 28, 29, and I realized this isn't the life that I want, which included what you just said. I was on Wall Street. I was a CPA, didn't like it at all. I realized, why am I in this situation? This is not who I am. I felt like I was a more creative person. I was in New York. I made the big decision to move out to California. I loved it. I loved California. And I just decided that's the place for me. But even before I moved, I started dabbling in acting. I quit my CPA job. To answer the question, I think the thread broke. And I think the person I was meant to be was like woven in a different tapestry from the very beginning, from when I was 5. That person was in plays and musicals and sang and danced. That tapestry continued on in my second chapter, which was finding myself without my parents' approval, because they did not approve. The me that was 5, I think that part of the thread was still there, but the thread that led me to being a CPA just shriveled up and disintegrated.
I'm picturing different threads or maybe pieces of yarn that you tied together along the way.
Yes.
You started out a CPA on Wall Street. On paper, that sounds prestigious and really secure. What did that life look like from the outside, and what did it feel like on the inside?
I felt like I was dead. Like my parents always said, you'll have something to fall back on. I would have rather fallen back into my grave. I understand where they were coming from because they're from the Depression. My mom went through the war and came from Poland, and that's a whole different experience than what I had. So I understand where they were coming from. Like, you hate your job, you work at it 5 days a week, and you enjoy your weekends. That was their mentality. So you do what you love on the weekends. And that's not really how I wanted to live my life, because you spend a lot of time at work.
It sounds like you knew pretty early on that was not going to be your path.
Yeah, I spent 4 years studying it, then taking the exam, and then another 4 years working. Pretty short time, but it felt like a lifetime. And I regret the time wasted, but maybe it wasn't wasted. I use accounting in my business. I do my own books. And so I guess nothing is wasted.
I like the visual of the tapestry because we can weave all different threads from different parts and times of our lives into the tapestry of our life.
Yes.
So you made a major leap and moved out west when you decided you'd had enough of the Wall Street world, and you went to pursue acting.
That's right.
What were you really looking for at that point?
I was looking to be in films, and everyone said, don't go to LA without a SAG card. That's the Screen Actors Guild. You have to have that to be in union films. I ended up getting Taft-Hartley, which means that the producer thought that I was the only person in the world that could play this part. And it's called getting Taft-Hartley, which means they pay a fine to SAG to hire a non-union actor. I was Taft-Hartley into SAG that way. I was hired anyway. I had done theater in New York before I left. I said, I'm going to audition. I took classes. I auditioned. I got some roles, just little things here and there, enough to keep me going, basically, to say, yeah, I can do this.
That was still fairly early on in your journey. Do you think at that point you were starting to feel like you were reinventing yourself, you were taking on a new identity, you were developing resilience?
I didn't think of it that way. I didn't think of me as being defined by resilience. I just knew that I wanted to be creative. And this was my dream. I'll never forget. I was 5. I was cast as Lucy in Your Good Man, Charlie Brown. That was when I made the decision that I wanted to be an actor. I wasn't encouraged. When you grow up in a family that's like, you can't be an actor. You have to be born into it. You got to be born into act. You can't just go out and be an actor. So I was just like in the background in camp and plays and things like that. All this stuff that had been squashed my whole life until I was 29. It was just a thing that I knew I wanted to do. I don't know if it's resilience. It's just, this is who I was at that time. It had to come out. I had to just do it all. I was writing plays. I was writing musicals. I was writing music. It all came out. I don't even know what to call it.
It was like a creative waterfall. You were really listening to your heart and honoring really what you wanted, and all that expression you just described needed to come out of you. At what point did food come into your journey and become the place where you started exploding with all this creativity and weaving in your values and your sense of purpose?
So one day in 2006, I was hungry for a cupcake. I have a sweet tooth. I've always had a sweet tooth, but I always was health conscious, and I couldn't find a cupcake that was sugar-free at the time. And I thought, I can't believe I have to figure this out. I just knew at the time that it wasn't good for you. And I was really disappointed. And I thought, oh, I can't believe I'm going to have to be the one to figure this out. I did, though. I went back to my apartment and I started dabbling with all the things that they had at the time. They have much more now, but I figured it out. And I have these cupcakes that were sugar-free and dairy-free. This is before it was the craze, and gluten-free. I figured it out. It's delicious. And then friends started tasting it. We should do a bakery. At that time, I had been doing acting for 15 years here in LA. I was like, okay, maybe this is a way to be creative and not have to schlep to auditions every day. And I opened Sweet Debbie's Organic Cupcakes in 2006, and Hollywood came knocking on my ovens. That was my way into Hollywood. Gwyneth Paltrow, Ray Romano, all the studios. I can go on and on. I can name every single actor who was aware that sugar was not good for their kids came to Sweet Debbie's Organic Cupcakes. And that was my way into Hollywood. That was the thing. I wasn't acting, but a lot of people were aware that sugar's pretty bad. It was something that they needed. I was solving a problem for my first customers.
You were already in the showbiz world.
Yeah.
You got at least your foot in the door, maybe both feet in your hands too. You had connections, and then you had
Not A-list connections.
not A-list connections yet, but then you started going into the food direction with all the reasons you just described. And I'm just curious, what's your favorite flavor?
I don't do the cupcakes anymore, but it was chocoholic.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. What did you have to learn the hard way at that part of your journey? What kind of mistakes, experiments ended up teaching you the most?
I couldn't figure out red velvet. I could not figure out red velvet without dye. I obviously wasn't going to do red dye. That would be totally against my religion to do red dye for someone who's healthy. So
What about beets?
I'll tell you about
Okay, I'm spoiling the story.
No, it's okay. Beets turn brown when you heat them
Okay.
in an oven. Yeah, I tried that. I did some science. I did some experiments. What I learned was that if you raise the acidity of the beets to a certain temperature, to a certain acidic level, I didn't use beets. I ended up using cranberries, but it maintains the red. So you have to add a lot of lemon juice. So that's how I figured it out. I raised the acidity. I forgot the exact number to a certain level, and using the cranberries, it stayed red. It took 6 months to get it right. It was very difficult. That was my biggest challenge.
So you're giving a little bit of a window to the listeners to see how intelligent and brilliant and creative you are, because I came upon you at the beginning of my plant-based journey, and I could have sworn that you had your PhD in nutritional science and biochemistry. Let's go to one of really the more powerful parts of your story and your life. Your son, Sean, was born with severe life-threatening food allergies. That really changed the course of your business and your journey. Tell us about that.
When my son was born in 2008, we had no idea he had these allergies because I was breastfeeding and he didn't react to that. So just breastfeeding. And when he turned 1, I just a little bit regular yogurt, not knowing anything about his food allergies, and he anaphylaxed. It was, as his allergist calls it, a spectacular, unlike a Broadway show, spectacular in anaphylaxis is not good. He almost died. He almost stopped breathing. That was our first introduction to food allergies. Then it happened again. He anaphylaxed to flax. That is not a top 8 food allergen. That is like off the charts. I don't even know where that comes from, but he anaphylaxed to flax. He anaphylaxed to eggs. He had quite a number of allergies. I went back and I redid my bakery basically to accommodate the allergies that my son had. And I found out, being now part of the food allergy community, that at the time there were 13 million kids in the United States alone that had food allergies. That's quite a number of kids alone. I didn't even count the adults because a lot of these orders were for the children of these people. I accommodated the top 8 food allergens in the new Sweet Debbies. Then the business got even bigger. There were so many people who needed allergy-free. I could say allergy-free because there were no allergens in that facility.
Talk about a niche. That's such a niche. I've just finished a 25-year career as a school nurse, and food allergies are huge. I had dozens and dozens of kids at my school with EpiPens and lots of healthcare plans for kids with allergies, which I know you're really familiar with. One of the things that people who don't have exposure, no pun intended, to this area is that it's really an invisible disability in so many ways. I try to explain this to teachers year after year, that those kids come into your classroom, they can't participate in certain activities. It's not like they want to raise their hand and make an announcement about all the things that they can't do and why they can't do them. They have to navigate, often without formal support. It's really challenging. What a gift you made available to that community.
Yeah, I'm glad I was able to do that because the kids were being deprived of birthday cakes and cupcakes on their birthdays. They would have rice cakes with a candle in it. That's not fair. Like you said, it's an invisible disability. It excludes them. They can't have the pizza. If dairy is one of the allergies, they can't have the pizza. So they feel excluded. That's a very big problem when you're 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, to feel excluded. It's a terrible feeling. You're on your own. So I'd have to bring something he could eat and bring a separate cupcake that he could have. Some parents did figure it out and say, Debbie, how can we accommodate Sean? And others, it's a lot to navigate.
Yes. I think that had to have sharpened your experience as a mother and really deepen the meaning of your mission so much, so profoundly. Later on, you started turning your recipes into cookbooks.
Yes.
That gave people the ability to recreate your recipes in their own kitchens. Tell us
Yes.
more about that part of your business.
I was approached by an agent that knew that this is very different, allergy-free, gluten-free. It was the very beginning of that whole era of being gluten-free and sugar-free. They approached me and they said, we can get you a book deal. I recreated the recipes from my bakery in the book so people can make them at home, because not everybody could afford to have them shipped to the middle of the country or the East Coast. It's expensive. People wanted it. They wanted to know how to do it. And I was happy to allow them to do it.
I'm sure that so many people were grateful that you shared your knowledge with this community in particular. You empowered them to be able to meet their own children's needs and make their lives better. It's such a big contribution you made. I want to switch to the topic of another book, The China Study.
Yeah.
You've said that reading The China Study was a major turning point for you. I'd like you to share what shifted for you after you read that book.
A friend of mine told me to read it. I had never heard of it. And then I read it. Everything in that book made everything I was going through with my son make sense. Like, I was already vegan. It was a 30-year study done in China. What they talk about in the China study, we're not going to die of a lack of protein. People think you need so much protein. We are not meant to ingest dairy. We are not. Humans cannot handle any sort of animal product that is dairy, because casein, which is the protein found in milk, and that was the protein they used in the study. That's what my son is allergic to. It's rejected by our bodies. We are not meant to process it or digest it. That's why people get lactose intolerance. Some people anaphylaxis. No human is meant to eat or drink cow's milk. It's so hard because we are indoctrinated from a very young age. Got milk, the big signs, the big ads that we see in the magazines and on billboards. Got milk. You're not supposed to got milk. You have to re-educate people, and it's so hard to do it because people think their children need milk. They need strong bones. You know what happens when you drink milk? You get osteoporosis because it takes out the calcium from your bones. So you're getting osteoporosis from the milk. You're not getting strong bones from the calcium. It is not meant for us. And that's why we get breast cancer. And that's why there's prostate cancer. That's why there's ovarian cancer. It was a 30-year study. They used casein, and they deduced that humans should not have dairy and no animal protein should be in our diet. Whole food plant-based diet is what humans can thrive on and decrease disease by. We get all our nutrients from a whole food plant-based diet. That was my big takeaway from the China study, and that really pushed me forward with learning how to cook whole food plant-based. I was vegan, but I wasn't whole food plant-based, meaning whole food plant-based means no sugar, no oil, no salt, in addition to no animal protein. I had to figure out how to take out the salt and take out the oil because I was using oil at the time. And I did that. And I realized that people needed to know how to do this and learn how to eat this way and make it so delicious that they didn't miss the old way. Because it's all about taste. If they feel deprived, forget about it. I had to figure out how to recreate eggplant parmesan and lasagna and things people love. And I did. Then the publisher of the China study found out about me through my literary agent and said, we need a cookbook with your recipes. Because people on Facebook, maybe that's how you found me. People on Facebook were starting to grab these recipes, and I was doing Facebook Lives showing how to do the recipes. It was my second book, Sweet, Savory, and Free.
Right over here. Sweet, Savory, and Free. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. You are also a very excellent food photographer. Even not seeing your cooking live demonstrations, just looking at the photographs are just so captivating.
Yeah, on the Facebook, it's mine, but in the book, I hired a photographer, so a food photographer who took those pictures.
They all look delicious. I love how you brought up the point that you can be vegan, but not healthy. I'm not sure why you decided to be vegan before, but then you switched to whole food plant-based. To be really specific, you can drink Coke and eat potato chips and Oreos, and that's vegan.
It's vegan.
It's not going to help you. No way.
No. Yeah.
So what I know about your food, because I've eaten your food and I've cooked your recipes, is that you're very intentional about your ingredients. I'd like you to talk about what it means to create recipes and dishes that don't just taste good, but they actually help people be healthier and they help people feel good.
When I'm making a recipe, I'm always thinking about each additional spice, each additional ingredient, and how that functions in the body. What function is the cinnamon? What function is the cumin? How will that help the body thrive? That's how I do it. That's how I build flavor. Yes, it's flavor because that's really important. But in addition to flavor, how is the body going to benefit from it?
That's why I think you sound like you have your PhD in nutritional science. Here's a bag of your granola. We'll talk a little bit about that. You have some ingredients here that I can't even pronounce, but I know based on your explanation that you really do a great job of explaining what is the benefit of eating all of this. I can actually read this little paragraph you wrote for this. Immerse yourself in the rich, creamy bliss of smooth peanut butter, crunchy almonds and cashews, decadent dark chocolate chips, and botanical adaptogens like astragalus, ginkgo biloba, and holy basil to help manage stress and inflammation. Peanut butter cup, who doesn't like peanut butter and chocolate, will elevate your granola game with essential nutrients, and luxurious taste will keep you coming back for more. It's vegan, gluten-free, sugar-free, oil-free, and non-GMO. I can vouch for you. This stuff is like crack. I have to be careful with it. A lot of my listeners are women in midlife. That's who this podcast is for. And they're dealing with things like inflammation, energy dips, cravings, sleep disruption, brain fog. From your perspective, how can nutrition support women through this phase of life?
It's nutrition, but it's also other things in addition to nutrition. You can't just use food to fix all those things. It has to be nutrition, movement, and like you said, sleep. One of the issues is blood sugar because that changes as your hormones change. You have to realize that you have to be a little bit more intentional with how you move your body. And the thing that I have found the most to help with that is muscle building, because we lose muscle as we age, but you don't have to lose your muscle. That's the thing. If you work out and continue to build your muscle as you age, then your blood sugar regulates better because your muscles absorb more glucose. That in turn will help you sleep better and help you absorb your nutrients better. There are things called phytates in our food that blocks the absorption. How do I get around it? You eat healthy foods, nuts and seeds, and what's wrong with that? There are phytates in those foods, and you want to absorb the nutrients. So you have to counteract that with sprouting. And that's why at Sweet Debbie's, we sprout all the nuts and seeds so the people can absorb the nutrients. Sprout everything. Sprout the garbanzo beans. Sprout whatever you're eating. Sprout the rice. Sprout the nuts and seeds. And that way you get all the nutrition you need. You'll feel better. Your body will be better. So there are a lot of little things that you have to know about to overcome all the obstacles that are in our way. It's not simple, but if you know these things, it's not that hard. You work out, continue to build your muscle, take a walk right after dinner, even it's like a 10-minute walk, because that too regulates blood sugar, and that will help you feel better and sleep better.
Wonderful advice for everybody, but especially for women 50 and above. You really integrate all the concepts of lifestyle medicine into your messages and into the way you're delivering your products, because you're so intentional about how you source the different ingredients. I'd like you to speak to what kind of things should people look for when they're reading a nutrition label or they're looking at packaged foods that can often sound healthy and good, but we know, especially based on some of the information you're sharing, that they might really not be as good as their labels indicate they are.
That's true. You have to be really smart about what you're looking at. And that includes knowing the different words they use for sugar. It could be glucose, it could be fructose, it could be cane sugar. All these words are really just sugar. And you really don't want sugar. You don't want oil. Anything that has oil in it, even if they say coconut oil or olive oil, these are not good for us. People say, olive oil is good for you. No, it's not. It clogs your arteries just like any other oil. You just have to be aware of these things that are on our packaging, like the things at the very end of the nutrition label that you can't pronounce. That's probably not good either. You want something very simple. The least amount of ingredients, the better. You want to be able to pronounce them and you know what they are.
For the listeners, if you're buying products from Sweet Debbie's, if you're buying any of those products, rest assured that you're getting the highest quality nutrients included in all of these. If someone wants to move in a more plant powerful direction with their eating, that can feel really overwhelming. And they might not be that great in the kitchen initially. What would you suggest in terms of how they can begin?
I would substitute one thing every day. I wouldn't go all in right away. Start with breakfast because that's easy. Maybe get a dairy-free yogurt. They have everything now. Coconut yogurt, almond yogurt. It's just so easy now. It was easier now than it was 20 years ago. Get a topping like a granola that doesn't have sugar in it, like a Sweet Debbie's topping, some hemp hearts. Make it delicious, some fruit. Start with breakfast. Don't include any animal protein. No milk, no anything animals. Just make it with plants. Make it delicious so you look forward to it. Oatmeal with a topping. Start there. And then the next day, try to do a lunch. Do something with a salad and make it fun. I like to do salads with a lot of different toppings, things that you would never even think of putting on a salad. I put on salad. I put sushi, vegan sushi on top of salad, and it's so delicious. Like I look forward to it. Any leftovers you have from the night before that don't have animal protein, put it on top of your salad, even if it's lasagna and spaghetti. Doesn't matter. Put it on top of your salad. It just makes it fun and festive. The next day, or maybe a few days later, try to do a plant-based dinner. There's so many recipes online. You will not have a problem finding something you like. Look at the pictures. If you see a picture you like, say, I want to make that. I want you to be excited about it and look at the pictures that it's making you salivate. Say, I'm going to make that. And then be excited about it. Get the ingredients and make that. And I'm sure it'll become part of your repertoire before you know it. You'll just have enough things that you could make without even looking at the recipe. 5 or 6 things that you could rotate during the week and just keep looking online for free. You don't have to buy anything. Look at pictures on Pinterest or Facebook or anywhere, really anywhere. They have so many on Instagram, things that make you salivate. Look at the recipe. If it's not too hard that you think you could tackle it, add it. Keep adding it till you have a nice amount, and then you'll look forward to making these things.
I love what you're saying because I also am plant-based, and you and I can sit here and get each other really excited by all these things. I think for people who aren't plant-based or are almost afraid of it or intimidated by it, they're worried about it not tasting good. At the beginning, I think it is an adjustment because it does take time for your taste buds to adjust, but they do. People who know me know I am such a foodie. I was before I went plant-based, but I think I'm more excited by food now. I just so am excited by all these plant-based options and the recipes I make. In November and December, I offered a program. I was trying to think of how to offer something interesting to moms with kids coming home from school over winter break or Thanksgiving break, that can be really overwhelming because everybody's getting up at all different times. They want to go out and do a Starbucks run. That costs $100 for just a few people, right? I created this program called Breakfast at Home. I had all these different plant-based breakfasts that you could switch from, different formulas. One of the things you mentioned that really helps is how you put things out, that you want it to look inviting. And when you create all these different options with toppings like an oatmeal bar or a smoothie bar or a yogurt parfait bar, that people look at it and they think, ooh, that looks interesting. And you almost don't even have to say, but this is non-dairy. You don't have to say that. People are willing to try it. They're excited if it's colorful. If you put it in cute little dishes or whatever you're using, that makes people feel great about it.
Exactly. I never say it's plant-based. I just serve it.
Yeah.
Dinner parties, nobody's plant-based, but me and my husband. And they're going up seconds and thirds. Like, this is delicious. So announcing, do you know that you're eating? No, I just, thank you. Glad you like it.
What can you say in terms of a few great pantry items that people would want to have?
You want to have a really good array of spices because that doesn't go bad for at least 6 months. I would have some beans, just spice and beans, maybe some kasha, which is buckwheat groats. That's another name for it. Rice, brown rice, keep that. That stays for a long time. Millet, that's a nice alternative. Quinoa, just have some staples like that. So you can just go from one to the other. You don't have to have rice all the time. And those should be your staples because those can stay for a very long time in your pantry. Then you'll just have to go shopping for the vegetables once a week. It's very simple. And then you make your sauces, maybe on a Sunday, have 2 hours. You dance in the kitchen to your favorite music, make some sauce, make some dressing, make a salad ahead of time. Because even just to make a salad, cutting up the vegetables may stop you in your tracks during the week because do it on a Sunday or Saturday when you're not so busy. Have it in a nice big container that you could just take it out. That's your salad. At least that's done. Your dressing, that's done. Even do some of the recipes that you want to try. Have that in a Tupperware that you just heat it up. And then you're set. Because the easier it is during the week, the more apt you are to stick to it.
I want to highlight some of these key strategies you just mentioned because I teach these a lot also. And you're talking about batch cooking. Batch cooking is basically, it doesn't necessarily mean actually cooking on the stove or in the oven, but it's prepping your food. So obviously before you prep it, you have to go shop and get it. But prepping your food so that it's available and ready for you, because that's the key thing when you're trying to eat healthy, that the food has to be available to eat. To backtrack a little, there's so much out there. I go to farmers markets, I go to Whole Foods, we go to Costco periodically. You can shop at Costco easily and get plenty of plant-based staples for your kitchen and your week and set you up. If you're worried about time, there's so many options out there. I want to pivot a little. It's obvious from hearing your story that you really moved towards a direction of growing your business in a way where you understood your limits, but that you knew that sustainable growth was going to require a lot of integration of boundaries, rest, support. You've said that starting Sweet Debbie's wasn't really about leaving Wall Street. It was about choosing yourself. That's what so many women age 50 and above are grappling with right now. We've been spending decades of our lives supporting others, maybe in the home and maybe also in a workplace. A lot of us are at a point where we're looking at everything and we want to choose ourselves. What does that mean to you now?
You have to understand that you are worthy of being happy. It's not selfish to want that for yourself. Women have a tendency to equate doing nice things for themselves with selfishness. You shouldn't think of it that way. You have to think of it as you deserve to be happy. If something's not working in your life, change it. It's okay. Any age, it doesn't even have to be 50, 60. You could be 80, 90. It's okay to change the directory, the course of your life. because what's most important is that you are passionate about what you're doing. That's what life's about. It's about passion. If you're not passionate about life, then what's the point?
I can hear the vitality and the confidence that you just exude. It's really infectious. I would love to go to a retreat that you designed and planned and implemented, and I'd love to eat all the food there. Am I planting some seeds in your mind?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of daily practices do you do that sustain you and help you to be vital and confident and feeling great?
I always eat good food. I never compromise on that because I just feel really crappy if I don't. And I don't like feeling crappy because then you sleep crappy and then you wake up and you're just a crappy person to be around. So I start with that. And then I always first thing go outside. I grab my dog and I am out the door first thing in the morning. The sun is really healthy. It boosts your mood. I take a walk with my dog every day. I will go in the pouring rain. It doesn't matter. I am out that door. Those types of morning routines are very integral into me feeling my best. A lot of things happened to me this year that were not optimal. I lost my house in a flood and I had to move. And the whole thing with repairing the house was it still is going on. I am stressed more than I have ever been. And I have to be very careful about not letting it get to me as much as it has. I have to think about it sometimes. Say, okay, it's just a house. Just a house. You'll be okay. You got to be intentional about your thoughts because our thoughts are very powerful and really affects your body more than you think. What you're thinking in your head affects your body. It raises your cortisol. Your body doesn't know the difference between a thought that you're thinking about, maybe something happened in the past and you're getting angry about it now. Like, why did I let them get away with that? You know what? Your body thinks it's happening now. It's easy to get angry about the mistakes you've made, regrets you have, but I'm trying to stay present. That helps because then the cortisol levels go down. Be intentional about trying to keep our cortisol down and eating well, taking your walk, whether it's in the morning or afternoon, or take several walks, whatever you need to. Go to the gym if that's your thing. I do yoga in the house, have a mat. Do something nice for your body because you don't even realize how stressed you are and how high your shoulders are until you relax. And then you're like, oh, wow, I'm stressed.
Self-care is so important. It's important every day, but it's so important to help us get through those waves that we know they're going to come and knock us down. We can get up faster if we have strong self-care routines. It sounds like yours are very strong and that you have a lot of gratitude for what you're able to do and what I will use the word resilience is and your mindset. This is Sexy in Your 60s. What does sexy mean to you right now at this time in your life?
Sexy is confidence. That's really what it comes down to. If I see a woman who is confident, no matter her age, that is sexy. She's comfortable in her skin. She walks a certain way. She doesn't slouch. She dresses well, speaks with confidence. I think that is the sexiest thing for anybody to have. If you're not confident, it takes away. Even if you're beautiful and you have a six-pack ab and, all the things that people look for, it's confidence in yourself, no matter what. That you are the person that you want to be. You know who you are. That is very sexy.
I completely agree. I always feel like it's a vibe and an energy. And when you get two of us together or more that share that, like when you and I got together, it's like you feel this growing glow and there's all this excitement going on, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And chocolate was involved.
Chocolate. That's right. You bought me chocolate. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was like the most fun.
Yeah, it was lots of fun.
It was chocolate and coffee.
You can't lose. Debbie, tell us how listeners can find you.
I currently have a website at sweetdebbies.com. So it's SweetDebbies, sweetdebbies.com. That's the granola I make now. And that's the best way. And if people want to email me, they can email me at debbie@sweetdebbies.com. If they have a question, they can get on the email list if they go to that website.
Getting on Debbie's email list, she sends you information about her products that she has available. And I've ordered several of them and they're delicious. I don't know if you've been doing those bars anytime recently. I love those.
I'm going to get back into bars. Yeah.
Debbie, thank you so much for being a guest today on this podcast. It's been such a rich conversation. Thank you for sharing not only what you've created, but the deeper journey behind it, the reinvention, the intention, and the compassion that runs through all of it. And for everyone listening, I hope this conversation reminds you that it's never too late to choose a life that feels more aligned, more nourishing, and more fully your own.
You said it. That's it. That's what it's about. Thank you, Dvora, for having me. It's been an honor.
If you're a woman 50 and above and you're doing a lot of the right things, but you still don't feel as strong and steady as you want to, I'm hosting a free live workshop called the 5-Minute Reality Check for women 50 and above. We'll look at the 4 areas that quietly drive energy and aging well: strength, fiber, sleep, and alcohol. And you'll leave with one simple next step that you can actually do right away. Join me on Thursday, April 30th at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Save your spot at slantoplants.com/realitycheck. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. If today's conversation resonated with you, I invite you to take the next gentle step by downloading the Sexy in Your 60s Starter Guide, a free resource designed to help you reflect on what supports your energy, vitality, and sense of connection in this season of life. You'll find it linked in the show notes or at slantoplants.com/starter-guide. You can also explore more of my work, including health coaching, plant-forward nutrition, and resources for vibrant living at slantoplants.com. And for the ultimate transformation, join the Sexy in Your 60s coaching experience at sexyinyour60s.com. If this episode spoke to you, please consider following the podcast, leaving a review, or sharing it with someone who might need it right now. That's how these conversations continue to grow. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay curious, and stay boldly, beautifully sexy, exactly as you are.